So, have Chelsea wasted £1 billion? Are Liverpool title contenders? Can Brighton make top four? Is Erik ten Hag progressing this United team? These are all questions that it's far too early to give an answer for. But yeah, let's get into rounding up these weekend's games and see how everyone got on. So let's get into it. So to start off on the Friday, it was Forest versus Sheffield United. 2-1 win by Forest. Taiwo Awoniyi and Chris Wood scored, and then Gustavo Hamer scored for Sheffield United. So it's one of those, it's just good for Forest to get these 3 points on the board, Against these lower table sides, they just need to beat them because I think, as we saw against Arsenal, they did struggle. But I personally think Steve Cooper's a great manager, and I think he's going to guide them to just under mid-table this season. But yeah, good to get them on board, and 2 goals from Awoniyi so far. So all good for Forest. So on Saturday, there was no half-12 kickoff, so we only had 3 o'clock games. We had Brentford versus Fulham, we had Bournemouth versus Liverpool, and then Brighton travelled up to Wolves. And yeah, it was some interesting games, I think. As I did an earlier video, I think Brighton, from what you can see of the highlights, they look fantastic, especially Matoma and Solly March. And like I said, I think there's an outside chance top 4 might just be a bit too much, but Europe again this season, I don't see why not with how they're playing at the moment. Early days, of course, but really good signs from Brian. And Matoma, good lord, he's such a good player. And yeah, I like seeing Matt Bryan, but I think a bigger club is eventually going to come in for him like they have with all the other boys. But Bournemouth travelled up to Anfield, and I watched the game. I think it was a good performance by Liverpool. Very shaky start, Semenyo, I think that was his name, scored the first goal, and they also had a disallowed goal. So it was very poor start, as per usual, by Liverpool. But I think they came into the game. I think Szoboszlai had a great game for them. And McAllister, ridiculous sending off. I think that's one of the worst sending offs I've ever seen. But alas, you just have to roll with it at the moment. And VAR apparently doesn't do anything. But, Salah got his penalty rebound. And I think overall it was a good win for Liverpool. And it shows that the depth might be an issue, but I think the starting 11 is looking pretty good at the moment. And then you have Brentford. And it's an interesting one because you'd think they'd tail off about Tony, but Bueno and Visser are both showing that they can carry the load so far. Again, early doors, I think it will come up to catch them, but if they can just keep the pace going until Tony comes back in January, Brentford could really, make a push for that Conference League spot or even a Europa League spot, because just the foundation of their squad, just they work so hard, they're so intense. And I love the fullbacks, I love Aaron Hickey, and I love Rico Henry. I think they offer so much going down the wings. But 3-0, I think Fulham are pretty much down. I know it's the second game of the season, but I'd be surprised if they stay up. No Mitrovic now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Marco Silva went to Saudi Arabia and did take that offer that he rejected earlier on. Then you had the headline game of the day, Spurs versus Manchester United in London, and I think if you're a United fan, you're struggling to see some positives at the moment. They had they had a penalty shout or so, but so does everyone. Romero got taken down by Martinez. I don't think it's a penalty, but a Spurs fan could. But I think Spurs look really promising. I thought Maddison is looking really good for them. I think Kuleveski on the right, had a few good shots. He kind of set up the first goal. And I was really impressed by Basuma because he's showing what he showed a bit at Brighton. And I think Man United did allow him to look, like prime Vieira. However, I think he did take advantage of that. And I think him, obviously Son played okay. I think there's so much more to come from him. But I think Postecoglou's really putting together a system that is quite entertaining for the neutrals, and I'm sure for the Spurs fans. But then to United, what are you going to do with United? You've got Anthony, who just looks like a complete waste of money. Then crying out for probably Højlund to come back from his injury and stick Rashford on the left. I think Bruno just looks fed up in that midfield. Mason Mount hasn't hit the ground running. I think it's far too early to write the guy off because he's a fantastic player, but he's looked really poor in the first few games. And then the centre-backs, this butcher, Lisandro Martinez, I haven't seen much from him in the first few games this season, so I think United will sort it out. I think the Mount will get it sorted in that midfield. I think Anthony should get dropped, but what do? Do you bring Jadon Sancho in? Because how many chances are you going to give him to show what he can do? But I think once Højlund, if he is any good, they stick him up front, I think it should work out for United because the base of it, I think they have got a good defence. And Onana, it's only his second game in the Premier League. He needs to get a bit more coherent with his defence, just understand each other better. But at the moment, it's not looking good for United. But like I say, I think they'll sort it out. But Spurs, really fun team to watch, and maybe they'll do better than my prediction. And maybe they might challenge for top 4 or top 6 this season. And then last game on Saturday was Man City Newcastle. Again, blockbuster game, two excellent teams going against each other. And there wasn't really much to separate them. I don't think Newcastle played bad. I think it was just a bit of moment of magic from Alvarez to... could have Pope done better with that shot? I don't think so, but I saw people saying it. And it's one of those, Newcastle had a few attacks. I was at one when Wilson was pretty much through, but they messed it up. And if I was a Newcastle fan, I wouldn't go away. You go into Man City losing 1-0 where realistically it could have been a draw. I think Foden again played excellent. I think City could miss De Bruyne because it did look a bit of a hole in that midfield. And without his constant supply to Haaland, sometimes he did look like a bit of an island on his own. So, again, I think City played well. It's a great result against Newcastle to keep a clean sheet and just win the game, basically. But Newcastle, I think they're going to be back up there challenging again. Top 4, top 6. And I was saying a lot of teams like this, but Newcastle, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes in the midfield, they're just, they are quality centre midfielders who could play for most clubs. But yeah, good game, tight affair, and I think both teams won't come away from it thinking too badly about it. So then just the 2 Sunday games, you had Aston Villa versus Everton, and I think Everton, are they relegation favourites at this point? They look terrible. I mean, if I was Sean Dyche, what do you do with Calvert-Lewin? I think I read that he went off because his vision was a bit blurred, and he got knocked in the head or so, and I don't want to just discredit that because it could have been worse, but sometimes you do just think, can you get on with it? It's a big game. Just some players sometimes, take a little injury and, use it to excuse themselves from losing the game, basically. I don't know, maybe not. But Everton looked terrible. I think Villa looked really good. I think Diaby looked good again. I think Bailey looked really good. And I think midfield, Douglas Luiz and McGinn. I love how they were kind of, Douglas Luiz, not McGinn, were written off at the start and they just kind of gelled together and created a great partnership with each other. Fantastic. And like I say, I think Villa are going to be a proper force this season. I think once they get Moreno back, I think they're linked to Nuno Tavares from Arsenal. So they might be seeing Moreno as a long-term injury at the moment, but you've got Matty Cash, still excellent fullback. Pau Torres, once he fits in that defence, I think he'll be quality. And yeah, I think, like I say, the sky's the limit for Aston Villa. And if they keep this going, I still think they need a striker because I know that Duran scored on his debut, but if Ollie Watkins goes down, you're going to be struggling with that team. However, like I say, 4-0 against anyone in the Prem is a top result. And yeah, fair play to Villa. But then you got Chelsea versus West Ham, London derby. And what is going on at Chelsea? They looked really good against Liverpool in the first game. And, I mean, have they wasted all this money? I think they wasted quite a bit of it. I think West Ham looked really good. I think James Ward-Prowse, he just offers that dead ball specialist. And, you're going to get a lot of goals from that because there's a lot of good players in the air for West Ham. As you saw with that Aguerd, who eventually got sent off. However, I just don't know with Chelsea. I mean, Caicedo came on for his debut. He gave away a penalty. Of course, the spotlight was on him. And I was happy that he gave away a penalty. It's still funny, but again, he's a good young player. I want to see him do well, and I think he will do well. But I mean, Mudryk. What is going on with Mudryk? He was one of my players that I tipped to be kind of surprise of the season. He had a bit of a bad half the season when he joined in January, but I thought he'd proper kick on, but he just hasn't, has he? And he looks like he's just not up to it. So I can see him getting dropped. And I can see that Sterling and who's the other lad? That Madueke, I think his name is. I think they probably should just start with each other and Jackson up front. But 3-1 away against West Ham, big problem for Chelsea. And I don't think there's really any alarm bells that need ringing yet. But if you spend all this money, the recruitment, it just baffles me. But again, that's another topic for another day. But it looks good, it looks bad for Chelsea. I think it's such a bipolar club, isn't it? But again, good result for West Ham. And if they can keep on going, maybe add a few more transfers at the end of the window. Now they haven't signed Maguire. I think it could be, mid-table maybe again, push for the Conference League for West Ham. But yeah, really impressive. And like last week, this video is being filmed slightly before the Monday night kickoff, and that's Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. And personally, I think Arsenal are going to pretty comfortably win this game. However, it's at Crystal Palace. You've got Elise signing his new contract after Chelsea, trying to bully them way in basically and buying a player that they didn't need. And I think it's great that Steve Parish organised it with Elise, and I don't know how much money offered, how many bonuses, all of that, but like I say, I'm happy that a smaller club has gone to battle with Todd Bowley and Chelsea and have actually won. And I think that could be the difference from Palace potentially staying up and going down, because Elise is one of the most talented young players in the league, and to keep on to him for another 4-year deal, not that it really means he's going to be there for 4 years, but regardless, to keep on for him for this season at least, massive coup by Palace. And yeah, I think they will stay up. However, tonight I don't think it's going to be a good one for Palace. So that's all the games in this game week. We'll see tonight with Arsenal. It should be a good game. And then we'll see you again next week. I'm going to try and do these roundups every week if I can basically keep up on most Mondays and record it. But thanks for watching the previous videos. They've done really well. I really appreciate that. And if you like this one, if you could give it a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment, see how your team did this weekend, see how Arsenal Palace are going to be tonight. And yeah, see you next time.